So, today we're gonna take a step in a different direction. I'm gonna talk about something that I have, as yet, been really unwilling to talk about in these videos. So this is a big step for me. I'm debating whether or not I'm gonna create a whole new channel for some videos that are gonna follow. But with no more preamble, my job now, I work at a marijuana dispensary in Oregon, and one of the aspects of my job, our dispensary tries really hard to not just get you high. If anybody ever tells you that there is if there's 0% of their purchase that is to get high, that's probably a lie that they're telling to themselves, to you. Getting high is nice, but there's a large percentage of any purchase that's medically based. So I feel like I put that really badly. My company really wants to be there for the medical side of every purchase. So no matter who you are, if you're a recreational or a medical customer, you're still there for a medicinal need. And if you're a medical or a recreational customer, there's probably still a little bit of recreational value to your purchase, even if you're there for a medical purchase. So there's a little bit of recreational value to your medical purchase, and there's a little bit of medical value to your recreational purchase, is the idea. So hopefully that explained it a little better. I am talking quickly because I'm getting nervous. Like I said, I've been really reluctant to mention this in any of my videos, not because I am not happy or proud of the place that I work, but because I'm really worried about the perception of other people once they know that there's pretty much always a bit of THC coursing in my system, and CBD, and terpenes, and all of the other wonderful medicinal qualities and chemicals that are in the plant that is cannabis. There's a really wonderful holistic, synergistic value to that plant. Many ways to consume it. And I enjoy telling people all the different ways it can benefit them. I am a really active salesperson, not in upselling or trying to get people things they don't need or trying to make my store profit. I don't believe in any of those things. In fact, all of those things really frustrate me, and I will run the fuck away from any other shopping experience. I hate shopping. I really do. But I've been told I'm decent at selling things, because I really, really want to get my customers the product they want and they need. I have someone that comes in and and I ask them why they're there. Sometimes I get some really flippant responses. Like, why do you think I'm fucking here? I want to get high. Whoa there, Turbo. I know you want to get high. What particular kind of high do you want to get, buddy? Just looking out for you. So, gonna get a little further into this. The videos that I might put on a different channel are gonna get a little more into the exacts of what I sell and why I sell it and how I sell it and why there's a difference in just getting high and what it can do for you and what it does for me. But what I'm going to talk about in this video is what marijuana and smoking has done to change my life. I didn't smoke until I was 21. That includes cigarettes. I completely bought in to the idea of if I smoke pot, I'm gonna be a dumbass and I'm not gonna be able to finish school and they're gonna kick me off all the sports teams and I'm gonna be a social pariah and the dare dog is gonna come and jump out of my closet and give me nightmares. You know, I bought into a lot of the scare tactics, and I did not smoke or do drugs or do any of the scary things that I wasn't supposed to do as a kid. But when I started smoking pot, it made a huge difference in my mental state and depression and anxiety and all that stuff. But after I had all of my head injuries, and really in the last like 3-5 years, I've started experimenting more with, like I said, that synergistic effect and a more holistic lifestyle surrounding this marijuana industry and what it can do for me and my general pain and my migraines and my anxiety, and just as a replacement for those medications. Like I said, I'll get into a more whole spectrum, like what it's done for me, but particularly with the TBIs, the PTSD, the anxiety, the depression, and the really long-term CPTSD that has come from my mother issues and the whole shebang, the whole long-term nonsense that is going on, that I've been talking about in all of these videos. So, yeah, to summarize, that synergistic effect has given me the ability to take the reins, ride the insanity without having to run from it. So I haven't had to, I've been able to not engage in my escape mechanisms, and I have been able to be present in my suffering and understand it. And that is a huge, huge, huge step. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here in a second and then deconstruct that a little bit more. So the first thing I want to point out is that like I said, I started smoking pot probably see, I'm 32, so almost 11 years ago now, and it took me until, I don't know, maybe 3.5 years ago to make this particular discovery, and that was that when there is a complete lack of marijuana in my system, my emotional tolerance is negligent. I mean, I can do it, but the strain is enormous. So I can go out in public, I can be my normal self, but when I am home, it is disastrous. It is, it's like the castle walls come falling down. It's like I return to a home that is under constant siege or earthquake or natural disaster. I don't know, find the right analogy. So, I mean, I say that out loud, and I don't know, it sounds horrible, but I could say the exact same thing about not having my antidepressants. And in fact, I think I do worse not having marijuana than not having my antidepressants. That if the world ended, or if, you know, the cataclysm came, I think I would rather have access to marijuana than have access to a pharmacy. So honestly, to me, that sounds more like having access to the right medication, because the negative effects of the marijuana, it's not like the negative effects of heroin. It's not as if I'm going to die because I continue to take the marijuana. It is as sustainable as if I were to be taking my antidepressants. And in fact, there are less fucking side effects. If they could turn the marijuana into the antidepressant, there would be less side effects with the marijuana. Like the side effects of when I take my antidepressants are like 2 hours of feeling like poop, because of the indigestion and the time it takes for them to even out in my brain. Anyways. Okay, the point was, the lesson I had learned when the marijuana completely cycles out of my system. I learned this lesson by getting the flu, or, you know, the wintertime sickness enough. And so what usually happens is I get so sick in the chest that I just can't smoke. And so I go through a long enough period of time where it hurts so much to take a hit. I can't. And I sleep long enough, or I just go long enough without smoking. And then my brain gets into this, like, I don't want to do something that hurts. I don't want to do something I don't like. And so I just don't, and I don't, and I don't, and I don't take care of myself. And I get into this really depressed state. And just the first bad thing happens. And then I spiral, and I spiral, and I spiral, and I spiral. And I get into the darkest of the dark places. And I haven't had this medicine, this marijuana, that stops that spiral. And what I mean by it took me a really long time to realize this is because I would just get in that darkest place. And because you're so in that moment, and it feels like that moment is all there is. There's nothing else. There's no past. There's no future. There is no anything else. There has never been anything else. There will never be anything else. There is just what has happened and what immediately led to it, and what immediately will follow, and the spiral. And so until I can really get something to process into my system that will break that immediate spiral and cycle, nothing gets through. And the head injuries, as I understand it, do something chemically so that the chemical that releases the ability to allow you to like break from that moment is mixed into the head injury, and it's mixed into the anxiety, which is again mixed into the head injury and the PTSD, and it's really too complicated to go into, and when I'm frazzled it's really hard for me to like break down the 1, 2, 3, 4 of the steps. I just kind of like link into things that I know are true because I've researched them in the past. But again, I have figured these things out because the next few steps have kind of happened accidentally, and then I've been like, oh shit, look what just happened. And so now kind of programmed it in to be like, oh crap, I'm right here, I do this, and then I'll do that, and then be like, oh, that just happened, and I did that, and that made it better. Good, I took the right step. Okay, so now, here is what I have found helps. If I find myself spiraling, and I realize that I'm headed for that dark place because I haven't had any marijuana because I've been so sick, or I've something has happened in my system where I have been deprived of this medicine, and I find myself spiraling down to the dark place because I don't have enough medicine in my system. I either can't smoke it because I'm in a public place and it's just not okay, or it's illegal, or I have again been so physically unable because of a cold or whatever. I need to take this holistic synergistic effect attempt. I need to eat it. Usually there's some place in my house that it is edible. And so somehow accidentally I have been like, eat something. And then it gets into my system and I'm like, I can suddenly think. Like, this chemical that my brain needs and it hasn't been able to get itself has been released into my brain and has allowed me to, in this dark, scary place, like all I can see is doomsday, I've been allowed to like stand up and see that this very small space that is doomsday is a very small space. And it does not last forever. It's just some place that I am stuck. And literally, the marijuana is the medicine that opens the door, that lets me crawl out of this small, dark space that I am stuck and see that it does not last forever. And again, this is a prime example of just a very large contrast to a very dark space, and where marijuana has allowed me to step away from that dark space and see, here's the chain of events that led me there. Here is where the marijuana allowed me to step away, see what happened, and say, I'm going to stop right here and give myself some space, and that's going to allow me to slowly come back from the brink. So it's not something that heals the anxiety. It's something that allows you as a person to heal yourself. Because when our brain chemistry gets all kinds of crazy out of whack, we need to be able to take control of our brains. And the marijuana really allows our brain chemistry to take some time and regulate and not be like this. It takes this and it goes like this. And then you're like, hey, calm down. It really lets you take control of your life again. And so, again, extreme example, but that extreme example has applied to many, many, many other kinds of crisis points in my life. It's allowed me, during the crisis point, to take a physical pause, to insert the chemicals that my brain is lacking, that have not allowed me to break the crazy cycle. And for anybody that has anxiety or has experienced a PTSD flashback, that cycle, that cyclical pattern, that feeling of this will never stop. And then the marijuana helps that moment stop and helps you physically step away from that moment and take control of that moment and realize that that moment will end, is a big, big thing. And I can do it without pot as an immediate, like, smoke it now, these days. It took having the pot as a smoke it now, to start that process. In my efforts to deal with the PTSD and the CPTSD, so the idea that moments from the past are just always with you. I mean, if PTSD and CPTSD are something that you're not terribly familiar with, you can go to my previous videos and take a look at that. I don't want to get too deep into that because this video is already getting long. But mindfulness is another thing you should probably look up or check out some of my videos. I haven't gone terribly in depth on that, but the idea of mindfulness is the notion that you always want to be present in the moment, not like I was talking about in that negative place where you're so locked in the moment that you can't see anything else, but when you're so lost in the future and the past that you can't value the moment that you're here in now. That happens to me. You might consider it like manic daydreaming. So like, I sometimes worry so much that I forget to value what I'm experiencing now. Marijuana can really help with that, because if you are so lost in what's happened to you in the past, if while I'm sitting with my daughter, I can only think about the ways that I might fuck her up because of the ways my mom messed me up, then how am I going to value her as an individual now? You know, if I'm only worried about what's going to happen in the future, or I'm only worried about what happened to me in the past. So those are ways that, again, my brain is winding up in cycles. And so if I can have some marijuana and help my brain end that cycle before I go in and engage with her, then I can take some more of those deep breaths and keep my brain from cycling up, and I can focus on the things that are happening now. So it's a matter of preparing my brain to engage in the now, to engage with her, to engage with my own self again in the now. There's also the idea of the pain body pain in general. So for that is somewhat smoking. The brain and the body, you have to find the right mix of what you're smoking, the right indica, sativa, CBD, all that. There's also, I use topical that I make at home. I rub that on my neck. My neck has suffered a lot due to the TBIs and the beating. My neck is the source of a lot of my migraines, so the topical doesn't always deal with that very well. I eat a good amount of it in the RSO. As I've explained to a few of my coworkers, that gives me the space to think, because the pain that I experience in my neck often makes it hard to think, which adds a level of stress. So every time I have to process a thought, I have to think past the pain in my neck, when that is particularly difficult because the pain is causing head pain. So there's just several steps to processing a thought. So on that level, the marijuana helps because my doctors don't want me to take any sort of anti-inflammatory or NSAID. So I can't take Aleve, I can't take Tylenol, I can't take Advil, I can't take aspirin. So I can't take any technical over-the-counter pain reliever. So I do ingest RSO as a moderate pain reliever so that I don't have to have pain that takes my focus away from my thoughts. And that does help to a moderate degree. Again, the migraine pain is something that I'm really struggling with. I haven't been able to completely conquer that, but as my doctors are trying to tell me, the smaller headaches are miniature migraines happening all the time, is what they say. Anyways, I have headaches about 5 days a week out of 7, so I don't know what that means. They also make these nice little CBD vaporizer pens. So my friends are very happy with them. I am very happy with them. They help to take away some of the neck pain, and they also take away the nausea pain. The nausea is another one that the smoking does really, really help with. And so again, when I get sick, I can't smoke, and then I can't eat because I feel so sick. So eating the edible gets a little bit difficult. I've been experimenting with tinctures. So I'm trying to work those into some teas that might be a little bit more calming on the belly. Again, the whole synergistic aspect of this, even I, at the level that I'm at, I'm still trying to find the right mix of things that's going to kind of equal the right balance of relief for me, because my mom used to call me a hypochondriac, so I'm a little hesitant to really admit to what I feel on a daily basis, but there are a large amount of ailments I feel at any given moment. And so finding the right mix of what's going to make me feel like a whole person on any given day is difficult. And cannabis really, really assists with that. I think that that's probably a good place to end this. Again, I'm gonna try and make another channel where I am going to kind of explain some of the more in-depth workings of how I treat these ailments, and hopefully that will be another resource for those who are tuning into this channel. But that's kind of a wrap on where I'm at with my adventures in healing myself and my anxiety, depression, CPTSD, PTSD, TBIs with marijuana and cannabis. Hope you enjoyed that little adventure. Oh, again, this is a safe place. Questions are always better than criticisms. And I really do encourage questions. Please, if you have any suggestions or particular questions about cannabis, please put them in the comments and I will do my best to respond to them. If you feel the need to criticize, go for it, but I do encourage questions as well. Thanks. Thank you for listening.